no one will ever know how much that hurt. I don't believe in regret. You have to learn from your mistakes and move on. This is the biggest change that there's been to Football Manager since Football Manager was first released. If the game does well, we get to make another one. If it doesn't go well, maybe we don't.
I am in Football Manager's office right now and about to sit down with Miles Jacobson. I've never done a sit-down chat with Miles like this with cameras on before. I want to get to the heart of the issues around FM25, the upcoming release of FM26, what we can expect, and really try and ask some of the questions that you guys, the more hardcore Football Manager fans who watch videos on the internet, might want to know about. Let's see how it goes. So I'm joined by Miles. Miles, thank you for joining me for an interview here at SI Towers.
No problem, thanks for coming in.
Not done this before. I was looking on Twitter, someone tagged me in a post from 9 years ago where I did a similar chat with you like this at Carnaby Street for FM17 it would have been at the time. I don't know if you can remember that.
I can't. It's a long time. I can't remember last
week. It's one of my core
week.
memories, so this is really heartbreaking. But I'm not going to be. I don't want to say I'm going to be harsher on you this time, but I'm going to get into some nitty gritty. I hope today for stuff that the hardcore maybe you're going to want to hear about.
I'm an open book. I'm happy to talk about anything.
So obviously a year away from release. What's the biggest lesson you guys have taken here at Sports Interactive, maybe as a group, and also for you personally with what's happened with FM25 into FM26?
I think there's so many lessons that we've learned. Some of which are actionable, some of which are just things that happen and we can't change. I'm personally, the most dangerous emotion for me is regret.
Okay.
And I don't believe in regret. You have to learn from your mistakes and move on. There's all kinds of things we would like to do differently. There's all kinds of things, even this year, we would have liked to have done differently as well. But the core thing is we need to deliver a really good game to be that first game of the next 20 years.
Yeah.
I think we were probably overly ambitious with what we were trying to do. But the biggest issue with FM25 was the user experience wasn't right, and we tried to be too clever with the UI. I think there was a conversation I had at one point with someone from another studio who works in the UI UX side of things. It was like, what we're doing, and I might have even said this in an interview at one point, what we're doing, productivity tools are going to rip off what we're doing here. And what we learned was what we were trying to do. Productivity tool companies have probably tried to do the same thing and realised that it just didn't work, right? Yeah. So we worked very, very hard on that. But I see quite a lot of commentary online of, you've had 2 years, everything, you've had 2 years. I'm sitting there going, most games take 5 to 8 years to make. And 2 years is not a long time to be working on a game. So we've made sure that the scope is something that was manageable. And even then, with the scope being manageable, we're still coming in pretty hot. There's loads of fixes. We're recording this on Wednesday evening. There's still fixes going in at a rate of knots, which is great because that's going to lead to a better experience for the player. But one of the things that we said when we were first talking about the game in those early blogs, and I need to talk about the blogs a little bit because a lot of the stuff in the blogs is valid. There's stuff in the blogs that you have to add +1 to now for the years of when things are coming, with the exception of one thing, which we will get onto.
Okay.
So when we first started talking about what we were doing for the next generation of FM, we spoke about it's a 20-year plan, or 10 to 20 years, depending on which interview I've done. Doing what we're doing now, this is the biggest change that there's been to Football Manager since Football Manager was first released, right? It's actually the biggest change since Championship Manager 4. There was less of a gulf between CM4 and the first Football Manager than there is now. And it's quite a scary thing to be doing, but we see this as a new game. It's not a continuation of FM. So we've had various people that have been alpha testing the game. We've had people coming into the studio as well. And I spoke about, in those blogs, I spoke about difficult decisions that we had to be made about some features. And some of the commentary that I'm seeing, particularly from the alpha testers, are this feature isn't there, and that feature isn't there, and that feature isn't there. And we will talk about some of those individual things long term, but some of those things are creative decisions. Some of those things are, we want to do this properly. We didn't have time to do it properly, so therefore it's not in this new series. Some things will come back later on, some things won't. But I think the biggest one of those, and there's a big elephant in a room, and normally when I'm at home, I've actually got cuddly elephants that come on the screen when I say elephant in the room. The biggest elephant in the room is international management, and this is something you've spoken about.
I've been vocal about it
as well, and that's fine. Everyone's got an opinion, so I don't have an issue with that at all. And I can say today, and as I said, we're recording this on the Wednesday, so by the time this comes out, this should have been announced. International management will be in FM26. It's coming in a content update before the World Cup with a FIFA license.
Okay, that's great.
So officially licensed, and it's improved as well. It's not just the old module that's coming back, it's what we want international management to be. Now, we could have probably rushed that out for day one, but it wouldn't have been as good. It wouldn't have had the stuff that we wanted in there. And also, with it being licensed, we wouldn't have the draw, which we'll now have when we release it in the CU.
Can't wait for the draw.
We wouldn't have the kits, which we will have, because we don't know yet who's going to be in that tournament.
Except England.
So, yeah, come on, England. So people who've been playing the game for a long time going to have to get used to the fact we're not doing patches anymore. We're doing minor updates, MUs, and we're doing content updates, CUs. MUs will have bug fixes in. That's what they're going to be primarily for, and we will be supporting the game. The game is going to ship with some bugs in it, right? The alpha, the early access version that's coming out is going to be an early access beta, because we believe that we have time between the time it comes out and release to actually be able to fix more things. Because with this being a new game and on a new engine, we cannot test every single combination of PC there is in the world. We've gone out and we've done compat testing, and Intel have a build, and Nvidia have a build, and AMD have a build, and they're doing compat testing as well. But there are likely to be a few issues for some people at launch, and we want to be able to fix those as quickly as possible. So MUs, there's no number of MUs that we're going to do. We're going to release MUs when they're ready, when we can get them through the submission periods from the different platform holders. CUs, we don't know yet whether there are going to be 2 of those or 3 of those or 4 of those. We've still got to make that decision, but the CUs will add more quality of life things that people might be missing, or suggestions with the new UI of tweaks that we can make as an example of something that would normally fall into that camp. Some of our alpha testers play the game on much bigger monitors than we have. And we'd announced with the bookmarks feature that there's going to be 6 bookmarks. There's not. If you now have a high resolution screen, you can have 12, and we've got more choice. If you've got a medium resolution screen, it's 9. If you've got a low resolution screen, it's 6. That's the kind of thing that may come in content updates in the future. So we're kind of planning to service the game a little bit more, whilst not claiming to be a games as a service, because we're definitely not that. The content updates also, and I'm making this point now because I've been asked about this in other interviews today, they will be free.
Okay.
In fact, they're not free. They're part of the price that you pay at the start. So even though international management is coming further down the line, we're not doing that trick that a lot of other games companies do of, we're going to charge you £5 if you want this. Content updates are free.
So it sounds like Football Managers maybe not deviating from the yearly cycle, but certainly this year, the game that is going to be available day one of the beta versus what's going to be available after content update 3, it's going to be a pretty radically different game.
If there are 3 content updates, I wouldn't say it's radically different.
But an evolution.
I'd say that it's going to have a new module in there with international management, with the FIFA license, which is huge. I mean, you've got a Premier League license and a FIFA license coming for the first time in the same year, plus all the WSL and women's licenses, NWSL. There's a lot of new stuff in there. But there are going to be times where we decide that releasing a feature mid-cycle is better than releasing it at the start of cycle. So we'll still be on the annual cadence for new versions, but you may get some surprises during the year. although I've just ruined one of those surprises.
I appreciate it. Would you say the engine's a massive moment, right? This move to Unity.
It's huge.
And it's very evident to see as a player, as someone watching the marketing beats that come out, how that's changing the game. How is that changing kind of some of the development process for you guys? Have you had to adjust systems? Are you still learning now with the changes?
We're still learning now, and we will be learning for a few years to come. A big breakthrough that we had a couple of months ago was our design team, so the UI designers, the UI UX designers, are actually now fully trained in Unity. So when it's come to bug fixing, it's meant that for things like text overruns, the designers can actually go in and do those rather than the engineers. So it gives us more possibilities for more polish on that side of things. We also have tools that weren't working as well as we wanted, but are starting to work better now. That we use a tool called Figma. I know that you've spoken about Figma on your social accounts as well and on your streams. We now have a tool that can, in theory, take things that are being designed in Figma and put them directly into Unity.
So just streamlining the pipeline.
Which is absolutely going to streamline the pipeline.
So you talked about breakthroughs, like this change with the designers being able to help the engineers. Is there like a technical breakthrough with the game where you've gone, this is a big moment? I know you've said a lot about when it went from text messages to the inbox being emails. Is there another moment maybe during the process of the kind of playing early prototypes where you've gone, this is a big breakthrough, I can see it coming together?
Actually switching back from WhatsApp to the inbox was a massive moment. I think the addition of the secondary nav was a big moment. The bookmarks was a big moment. Seeing some of the animations in the match engine, which we probably haven't shown off that much.
So there's some fun ones for people to look out for.
Oh, I mean, there's some little flicks, some little touches, players looking up before they cross the ball. Given that people have seen kind of the graphics side of things, and that's gone down incredibly well, when they're starting to watch more matches, the things that they notice in there, the variation that's in there is pretty huge, and that's partly because of the new tactical system as well. So that the tactical system kind of in 25, so that wasn't a big, massive breakthrough moment. But there are also little things. So in the last few weeks, we've added in some transitions that actually make a big difference to the UI. It makes it feel quicker, it makes it feel slicker, because there were moments where it was a little bit grindy when you were trying to find things. And again, I know that we're going to talk about the UI, right? And when the UI clicks, it's awesome.
Yeah.
But it does take time for some people.
So you're expecting beta drops, there's going to be this initial reaction and people are going to have to push through it a little bit? Because I think people take for granted how responsive Football Manager is, and they're just used to what Football Manager's always been. And so it's like when social media sites change their layouts
it's a new game. In the same way as, when the new Superman film came out, it had Krypton in it. And people are like, oh, that's really cool. But I remember when the first Superman films came out in the 70s, because I'm proper old. And was it 70s or maybe early 80s?
I wouldn't know.
But I was sitting there going, where's Krypton? Because I read the comics. So yeah, there's going to be some stuff like that. But what we've been finding, because we've been doing a lot of testing, of the game. Thank you to all the FMFC members who came into the studio to do it. It's been awesome seeing that, and also to some of our alpha testers as well. And what we found is that people who aren't uber hardcore, because when you've got
I'm being looked at
when you've got a game that's got 500 hours plus average play time, all right, when most games have less than 5 hours, less than 10 hours as their average play time, we have players who play for more than 1,000 hours, and you will be one of them, right? And I know that a lot of people that are watching this video are going to be...
The people who are watching this, right? They are going to be the hardcore of the hardcore.
Absolutely. So it's really good to be able to talk to everyone. But I need to set expectations. So when people are coming in who've played for 100 hours, 200 hours, and new players as well, they're picking up the UI in between half an hour and an hour, typically. And it's probably helped that we've got people in the room with them, so they're asking questions and they're getting answers. What we've seen with some of our alpha testers is in the early days of the alpha testing, it was taking people a long time, like 30, 40 hours to get used to the new UI. I think we've got it down now to 10 to 20 hours, right? And with some further changes that are going in at the moment, I think that's going to see things speed up a little bit. There's certainly been in one of the groups, because we've got a few different groups that are separated from each other so that we can see the feedback from different cohorts, if you like, from different personas that we designed the game for. Some of them, the people that were really struggling early on, have actually turned around this week and gone, okay, I get it now, because it is feeling a lot smoother. So what we're going to be doing and what people will see, we're actually going to start doing a few video drops of how to use the UI. We're going to be doing a stream at some point that is going to come out where I'm going to be in there talking about it, and then we're going to do clips, because we've learned from people doing social media, doing streams, that clips go down really, really well. Because when someone is used to playing the game in a certain way, you play via muscle memory, right?
Oh, 100%.
You know where everything is, you know exactly where to click on the screen. Not only do you have to learn about a new UI, you actually have to forget everything that you know about the previous UI. And that is a really complicated thing to do. And I've used this analogy a few times, and it's going to get really boring for people. But I've been driving a long time because I'm proper old. I've never driven on the other side of the road, because I'm scared that when I get in a car in America and I'm trying to drive on the other side of the road, I'm not going to know what to do. And 30 years in on driving, 30 plus years in on driving, I do everything via muscle memory. I've even driven the same make of car for the last 20 years, right? That's how habitual I am, make and model. I know where everything is, I know what I'm doing. When you have to switch to the other side of the road, it's not that you have to learn how to drive the other side of the road. You're going to do things naturally via muscle memory that you can't do anymore because you're going to cause a crash. And that takes time. With the people who play 1,000 hours of the game, 2,000 hours of the game, it is going to take you a bit of time to get used to it because of those reasons. Once it clicks, it clicks. And this is the first of the next 20 years. So you're going to be able to take your time to get up to speed, but you probably won't be playing the game as quickly as you would have been with previous games. So, you know, it's great that I've got the opportunity to talk to the hardcore of the hardcore, as you call them, because I don't want people getting frustrated, and we want to be honest and upfront about this, that you're going to see people who've never played the game before turning around and going, oh, I'll pick this up really quickly. I don't know what the problem is. It's because you've been so loyal to us over the years and you love the game so much that we're sorry that we're destroying that muscle memory, but we're doing it for the right reasons, because we're setting up that next generation.
So just on the audience of FM, I feel like, especially with the console releases, probably skewing slightly younger in terms of demographic and who's playing the game. Has that in any way influenced how you have to approach the design of this new iteration of Football Manager?
So we have 6 different cohorts that we design for, okay? And it's platform-agnostic when we're doing that design side. We have 2 of our cohorts, 2 of our 6 cohorts are the plus 1,000-hour people, right? So when we're putting it together, any feature that we're working on, the initial design document that comes to me from the design team will say which of those cohorts it's being aimed at. And then we have this massive map that goes on to make sure that we've got things for everyone. So when we were looking at the UI, we weren't looking at a particular cohort, we were looking at the way that people are used to using computers. So it's looking at different operating systems on computers and how those work. Even looking at TVs and how they work with the big menus that they all have now to be able to access all the different apps on there. We've looked at a bunch of websites and best in practice websites. We've also looked at some websites that weren't best in practice, and we actually, at one point, with the back and forward arrows, and this was another big whoa moment. The back and forward arrows, if you were on a player profile and you clicked back, It wasn't taking you to the previous player profile. It was taking you right back a few screens.
I wouldn't like that.
And no, exactly. And it felt like one of those websites that you click on a link on Google and then you click back to go to Google, and no, it takes you to more adverts.
Yeah.
And none of us like those sites, right? So when we fixed that was a big breakthrough moment. And I was in the chat room with the people when they got that breakthrough, and it was awesome. So the console, we haven't shown the console SKU yet. We haven't shown the Apple Arcade skin yet, really. And on Apple Arcade, for example, the mobile skin actually has scrolling on it, because people are used to doing that on a mobile phone, so you can.
Yeah.
Whereas the iPad skin doesn't. I call it a skin, I should call it the UI, because it is a UI. On console, things have been designed for the fact that you can't have a keyboard and mouse. And again, this is a point I've made a couple of times in other interviews already, make it again, because it is an important thing. What is a PC? So what do you think a PC is?
Well, by definition, it's a personal computer, but for me, it's someone who sits at a desk or on a laptop at home playing Football Manager, probably not on their sofa, with a keyboard and mouse in hand. But
you've just said you play on either a desktop or a laptop.
Yeah.
So a desktop, what size is your screen at home?
4K, 27 inch.
27, okay. I play, at the moment, I've got two laptops. I've got one which is an 18-inch PC, and I've got one which is a 16-inch Mac. And it took me a long time to get used to the Mac interface. But now that I have got used to it, I'm finding myself trying to do the same button clicks on the PC, which don't work. That's just an aside. But PCs as well, do you see Steam Deck as a PC?
Probably not, just because I have one. So I plug a keyboard and mouse into it sometimes. So it's interchangeable, right?
But you have sat there and played a PC game using a control pad on your Steam Deck.
I have. So on this, right, so there are these different segments of different platforms, these different audiences, and you kind of talk about how you have your cohorts. But when it comes to the actual design decisions, are there calls that you have to make with one platform in mind over another, just because naturally...
PC and Mac are one platform, which is completely separate to console, which is Xbox and PlayStation, which is separate to iOS for arcade, which is separate to mobile. So just let us finish.
Yeah.
Okay. So the initial UI design is done for away from Football Manager Mobile, which is separate and hasn't moved to Unity this year. The initial design is done for PCs and Macs, but it's done from a perspective of we have to support screens that are 9 inches to screens that are 60 inches. So that's how we work there. Then we have a separate design team who work on the console side and Apple Arcade, who take what the PC team are doing and then adapt it for those platforms.
So there's not instances, because obviously people who watch this are typically going to be PC players who might be worried about Football Manager becoming console-fied. So on a foundational level, the game is built for PC and then splintered off. Is that fair?
But I don't see console side as an insult.
No, I don't either.
And, there's some incredible games on console.
But the expectations of the user groups are different.
I've seen it, right? I might not be posting on social media anymore, but we do have a team of people here who do let me know what's going on. So I do still see stuff, and I've seen those comments. And that's why I talk about the different screen sizes that we have to support. Now, with our previous series of Football Manager, we had adaptive layout. And adaptive layout meant that if you had the huge screen, then you had more boxes on that screen to be able to do stuff with. We don't have adaptive layout in FM26.
Is that something that could come back if there's...
I would love to have adaptive layout back in, but we made the decision early on in the process that we weren't going to have time to do adaptive layout for this year. So that decision was made. Longer term, I would love to have that back, because then we can satisfy people the same as we did with the bookmarks, of being able to have more bookmarks in there. Why shouldn't you have more panels? Why shouldn't you have it being more configurable? But because this is the first part of a 20-year journey, you can't be expecting, well, some people can, to be fair.
People will always expect stuff
people
on
will
them,
expect,
rightly or wrongly.
But 20 years of development on our previous engine, we're starting again with someone else's engine, and then we're going to have to adapt that over time to be able to do what we do. So a little bit of patience. As long as the game does well, we're not going anywhere. If it bombs, then I'm probably looking for a job. But certainly looking at the engagement at the moment, looking at the excitement from the community and the pre-order numbers.
Well, I was going to say, on social media, right, the negative voice is always louder. I experience them a lot. What's been the most encouraging for you? I know you say you're not on social media yourself, but is there something that you've kind of seen from the community that's made you feel a bit re-energised and kind of thinking this is going to be worth it when we get it out?
I don't need to be re-energised by anything that's coming from social media. I think I'm a bit of a Duracell bunny. Plug myself in. I was very, very tired this morning, done a full long day, but still here talking to you, and it's really nice to be able to. It's lovely being able to talk about this stuff. I think the reaction to the match side of things was really good. I was very happy with that. There were things that people missed when they were looking at that. The reaction to the tactics was brilliant. I think when people are using Transfer Room, they're going to realise how important Transfer Room is to the future. But I think the main thing is the extra pressure we're feeling, and this isn't a positive.
No,
we've gone from FM, I think it was FM22, we did 2 million players for the first time, to FM24, where it was out for longer, but we've still had over 20 million players, right? And we weren't doing regular updates because I haven't been on social to do them. That used to be my job, and others will pick that up over time, right? That has meant that we've gone from being, in the last 10 years, we've gone from being a team we were a bedroom coding team, even though there were quite a few of us, right? Into a stadium rock team. And that pressure is both positive and negative. And I know that there are people out there who don't realise what my job is, and they think that my job is just doing PR. Like, literally, someone will reach out on Teams at this time of year and go, we've got this bug. Does this need to be fixed before launch? We've got this. We think we want to do this. Is that okay? Is that the right thing to do? And I'm constantly going back to people as quickly as possible so that we're speeding up the whole process of doing things. So we need to get used to that, and we need to get better at that. We need to be better at talking to multiple different communities, including the hardcore community, because I do think that look, there are things that we've got wrong, okay? And we hold our hands up, and that frustrates us just as much as that frustrates everyone else. But we are moving at 100 miles an hour at the moment to try and get everything done, and need to learn. As I said earlier, we need to learn from our mistakes.
Would you say this is a kind of a unique year in the sense that there's so much going on that it's hard to take your eye off the ball of the game and kind of see not the wider sphere? But I've got a question I was going to ask you about transparency and communication.
Okay, cool.
And I know it was a word that was brought up, transparency, months ago. It's something I think a lot of community members have really latched onto.
Okay, so let's go back to the blog where I spoke about transparency and what I said.
Yeah.
I said that we want to be as transparent as we can be. We are part of a stock market listed company. So I understand why we got pelters for announcing the cancellation at 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
But we announced the cancellation at 2:30 in the morning because that is the law in Japan. That was the earliest we could do it. We could have waited until 9 o'clock, but then what would have happened is all the people...
I would have tweeted about
all the people that were forensically watching the Sega presentation in Japanese would have been talking about it then.
Doomed if you do, doomed if you don't, right?
Absolutely. And I think we've had a few moments of that this year. So also with the transparency, we need to be able to talk about things at the right time, not the wrong time. Can we do better at this? Of course we can. Of course we can. Are we going to try and do better than this? Of course we are. But we are also at a point now where we have so many players and we have so many business partners. You know, you look at the people that we're partnered with. This is Sports Interactive, all right, that started off as a studio in Church Stretton in Staffordshire with 2 school kids making their first game. This is a studio that grew by people from the community, like me, like Mark Duffy, like Ter, like Sven, like Graham Kelly, getting together and becoming part of the team from what was a Champman IRC channel. We've grown from that into a company that have deals with Microsoft and Apple and Sony, and we're working with Nintendo, and we're working with all these other huge, incredible companies, and we're important parts of their portfolio and they're important parts of our business. It's pretty bonkers. So we get things wrong. We hold our hands up when we get things wrong, and you've seen me doing that over the years.
Yeah.
You've also seen me defending sometimes when I don't think that we've done anything wrong. And yeah, but we need to get better at the way that we're communicating to everyone, not just the hardcore of the hardcore, but also those people that are playing for the first time, those people who've played 5 versions out of the last 10 years. Each of our cohorts, we need to get better at that.
Do you view the content updates as an opportunity to kind of hopefully show a bit of that progress, or are we thinking, you know, a year ahead, or is it just ongoing, would you say?
I think with the content updates, we're going to show people that we're listening. I think anyone who has been an alpha tester through this process will know very well with the rate of changes that have been coming in, particularly in the last few weeks, that we're listening. They've been asking for some features to come back, for example, that were actually already on the map, most of them. A couple of them weren't, that have then come back into play where we've gone, yeah, that makes total sense. So we're going to listen to people, but we have to take into account all of our player base, not just one particular cohort, because that's the way that we design the game. Does that make sense to you?
It does. I think gamers especially, have this almost shift in expectations of what they expect from a game now, even if it's a yearly sports title where they expect 6 months of, it doesn't have to be game-changing updates, but they kind of want to see, you know, the game that they get these iterative updates. And I think I remember chatting with you a year or two ago, and I chatted with you about this, the fact that Football Manager typically has been, we have the early access period, there's the update that sometimes comes in at the end of the 2 weeks, there's then kind of 2 further updates that follow in the new year, and then that's kind of the game. Mm-hmm. And it does sound like that is shifting a little bit.
International management coming to a content update. We've never done something, or I can't think of anything that big
versus
that was put into a game mid-cycle. Versus mode
was that a test, would you say?
Versus mode was definitely a test to see what we could do. And it was also a test with FMFC membership, because you only had versus mode if you'd signed up to FMFC.
Cool. And would you say that, you know, content updates, is that a long-term strategy, would you say, or is it a case of see how it goes this year?
See how it goes. Every single year is see how it goes and learn. And, you know, again, you learn from making mistakes. And I think that a lot of people do that in their daily lives as well, but maybe expect more from everyone else. We're just getting on with it. We're trying to be the best that we can be. I think you look at our play times, you look at the value for money factor, you look at the people that are playing it. I think we're pretty good at what we do, right? You know, I don't think I'm being arrogant saying that. If you look historically over the last 25 years, name a better sports management game than one of ours.
I'm trying to, no. I was going to say Eastside Hockey Manager.
That was one of ours. Thank you, Riz. Still working on the match engine.
Love Riz.
Riz is awesome. Again, someone who came from the community. And But we still say that we're learning every single day. We never hide away from that.
And would you say there's more
perfect.
of that in this new era of games, this new audience you're generating, and also just the evolution of what Football Manager is now, right? It has fundamentally shifted.
Absolutely, it's shifted. We've gone from that small team to the Stadium Rock Band. I spoke about it earlier. And, you know, the amount of players that we are now servicing and listening to, because we listen to everything. Right?
Just don't action on everything you hear.
But we can't action on everything that we hear, because you see this on your own channel. You know, in the days that I was on social, you'd say something, someone else would come back and say, I agree, and someone else would come back and go, I completely disagree. That is the way of the internet. Everyone's got a voice, and that's both a blessing and a curse.
Mostly curse.
At the same time. Well, you've said that, I haven't. I loved my time on social media. I learned so much, and certainly those early years got so much out of it. And I wish I could still be there, but unfortunately I can't.
Fair. So I've got two more questions for you.
Okay.
First is to do with kind of FM26's goals. I think this is more a personal question rather than for the studio. For you, what is success for FM26? Is it kind of commercial and critical success?
The first level of success is shipping the bloody game. Sorry, but because FM25 was the first time in 31 years that I failed to ship a game. Okay, whether being in the role that I'm in now or being in the roles that I was in back then. And there aren't many studios with that record, and no one will ever know how much that hurt. People in the studio know to some degree, but failing to deliver a game for our consumers was not easy.
No.
And having to make the decision of letting everyone down by not releasing, or letting everyone down by putting something out that I didn't think was good enough.
I mean, I've known you going over a decade now, and I know how much Football Manager really is part of your identity.
It's my life's work.
Yeah.
It's my life's work. It's Oven Paul's life's work. And, you know, Paul is still programming on the Match Engine. He's done some incredible work this year. Less involved. I'd love him to be more involved. But it's not just the three of us. It's Mark Duffy's life's work. It's Ed Lambert's life's work. There's so many people in the studio that have been with us for a long time, and even people who've joined the studio in the last few years who we know are going to be here for the long term. For all of us, it's our life's work. And it's a hell of a lot of responsibility. With us being the size that we are, and being the escape from people's normal lives that we are, that we've become, being a friend to people. It's a hell of a lot of responsibility, and we take it incredibly seriously. So shipping a game that people enjoy is the first target. Even if it takes them 20 hours to enjoy it, that's still the first target. The second target is playtimes. Are people still playing it for the whole year? Because I want us to be the best value for money on the game on the planet. That's why we do this. I've done jobs that I haven't enjoyed, right? I've spent money on computer games and I've been disappointed. Don't want that to be the case with FM ever. If the game does well, we get to make another one. If it doesn't go well, maybe we don't. And whilst I do see comments sometimes from people going, well, you know, they should give it to another studio, I come back to the point. Who's made a better sports management game?
And be careful what you wish for in the age of gaming.
I can't say that, right? You can say that, I can't. But we're really good at what we do.
Please, no microtransactions.
I think I made it very clear on the content updates.
It's going to be free.
The content updates are free. So we have a microtransaction in there with the in-game editor. Beyond that, there are absolutely no plans for us to add microtransactions. And it's something that I get offended by when people say they're going to be adding microtransactions in there. Look at our track record. when it comes to value for money. So I can't say there will never be microtransactions inside the game because I'm not going to be here forever, right?
Yeah.
And we have a parent company who could demand it at some point, but they haven't yet.
Do you think that speaks for the trust they have in what you guys are building here, on top of the delay?
Absolutely. I mean, look, their trust of us will have been knocked by the cancellation because it was a very, very expensive decision. But they backed us and they agreed with us. We looked at various different options, including could we release a game in the summer? And so,
I can't really imagine that.
So they're awesome. You know, the people that I deal with at Sega Europe and Sega Japan have been nothing but supportive. It's difficult at first, you know. Some of those easy conversations weren't easy, but I also had a lot of help from people from Sega Europe when it came to talking to Sega Japan, because they were literally saying, right, you need to sort out everything in the office. We'll go and talk to them. And then I got brought into those conversations afterwards. So yeah, that trust means a lot. And the trust from the community means a lot. And it really hurts when that trust isn't there. And people will probably get a kick out of me saying that.
Yeah. Okay, last question. Hopefully a bit of a high note to end on.
I don't think we've had many low notes.
No, I think this has been a really good conversation. I think it's a conversation that is... It's hard. I think sometimes, I've known you a long time, this is not my last question, but
okay.
I think sometimes people will read words with a tone in their head when
Absolutely.
stuff's written down. And so a conversation like this where you're able to be pretty frank...
I know that there are lots of people online who don't like me, right? That's up to them. I can't change that perception. I've tried to be honest. I've been direct. That gets some people's backs up. But, you know, as you say, we've known each other a long time. This is just like a normal conversation that we would have off camera.
Yeah.
Right? The fact that there are cameras filming it...
I think in a weird way, something like
really
this is
anything.
nice to, I want to say, humanise you a little bit, because I think in the age of social media, people do sometimes just forget there is a person. And I get pelters at times, and I'll deal with it a lot online. And yeah, I think I'd like to think that people can watch this and realise that even if they don't always agree with what you or the company say or do, rightly or wrongly, you're always trying to do right by Football Manager.
We're always trying to do right by Football Manager and always trying to do right by our consumers.
Yeah.
But when you've got as many consumers as we have, not all of those consumers are going to agree. So you might think that something is a brilliant idea. Someone else might think that it's not a good idea. And it's for us to decide, because we're the people making the game at the end of the day, and have a pretty good track record at that, as I've said a few times now, and I don't even know why I'm saying it, because you wouldn't be here talking to me if we had a rubbish track record at making games, right? We wouldn't have a hardcore community, we wouldn't have a mid-core community, we wouldn't have new players coming in every year, we wouldn't have people who have made careers from Football Manager in the way that you have and many other people on the scene. And that's pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure whether I am a human. People here think I'm a robot. So I'm certainly not, I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I'm quite comfortable with that.
As long as they like your game at the end of the day.
So, yeah, exactly. As long as they're playing the game, it doesn't matter what anyone thinks of me or any of us, really. If you enjoy our game, we're winning.
Happy days. Right. One moment in FM26's development for you. It could be a meeting, it could be a breakthrough, or just a realisation. Is there a moment where it kind of really stands out to you as a turning point in the last year?
You know what? There's so many, Jack.
Is there a big one that you can think of?
There have been so many. Think about FM, right? It's the reason that FM is so good is because it's the sum of all of its parts. So something really small. I mentioned the back button earlier. the breakthrough on that was huge. That was a real hallelujah moment. And because I'd been involved in all of those discussions, that was great. So from a selfish perspective, anything that was done by the UI UX hit squad, every single one of those was a big breakthrough moment because I was completely in the trenches with that, working with an incredible small team of people. And that was awesome. Mark Duffy will turn around and say that it's Duffy's Angels. Duffy's Angels were a group of people who were looking at crashes and asserts inside the game, or they have a slightly different name inside Unity. And they just went on the rampage over a 2-week phase, and certainly all of our alpha testers saw a huge difference in that. So that was huge. I think the first time that I saw a player looking up before they crossed the ball, that was a real wow moment. And it sounds something so small, but it's beautiful.
Well, I can only speak for myself. One of my favourite things about a new Football Manager is you watch a match and you see something that you've never realised wasn't in a previous Football Manager, but then when you notice it and see it happen for the first time in a new game, you think, oh yes, like, I want to play for another 5 hours to see the next moment like this.
There are so many of those. My save at the weekend, I was seeing those every 3 or 4 matches, and you're just like, oh wow, that was beautiful. The start video at the start of the game was another moment. The comms team did such a brilliant job with that. On 25, women's football being selectable, that was a 25 moment for me rather than a 26 moment, was awesome. I'm really lucky. I probably get one of these moments every couple of days.
Is that what keeps you going?
Is that what keeps me going? I got asked this by the bloke in the burrito van earlier, and I've been thinking about this quite a bit this afternoon. I don't think I'm done yet. I think we've still got a lot to do with the game. There's going to be a point, I need to sort out a succession plan at some point, particularly as I've had some health issues over the last few years. I think some of them are known about, some of them aren't. But, you will never have seen me before only drinking water. That's the only thing that I drink now. I've given up alcohol completely. I've given up soft drinks completely to try and be a little bit more healthy. What keeps me going it's the playtimes. It's the people who tell us the positive stories, the kinds of things that they're not going to post on social media. It's when we've helped someone get through a difficult period of their life and playing our game has helped them get through it. It's when someone in the armed services tells me about the fact that they've just been on a mission. And this has happened in war zones, that the game is the thing that has kept them sane in the evening. It's the person who does a job that they hate, who escapes into the game world in the evening and tells us what it means. It's the people who, and we've seen some of this with the streamers, who get father and son playing the game, mum and daughter playing the game as a rite of passage. It's the stories. It's the stories that we help people create, because everyone who's playing Football Manager creates their own stories. And it's the fact that I still love the game. I still make it for me. It just so happens that there are a lot of people like me, and there's 5 other cohorts that we have to decide for now as well, because I only fit into one of the cohorts, and I think you know which one that is. And I'm still learning every day, and that's a blessing.
That's a great note to end on. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Well, that is a wrap. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, something very different. Shout out to Olivier over at Football Manager who actually set up this interview, and I hope it was somewhat enlightening. Certainly some answers to questions that I wanted to know, and hopefully you feel enlightened for hearing them too. I'm excited for FM26. The beta, hopefully, is just days away at this point. I'm going to go home and well, go plan my first save game.